The cantina on Nexus Station buzzed with the usual mixture of alien chatter and mechanical hums. Smoke from a dozen different worlds created a hazy atmosphere that made everything look dreamlike. In the corner booth, 5 elite soldiers from the Galactic Defense Corps sat around a metal table, their various forms creating an intimidating sight that kept other patrons at a respectful distance. Zektar, a towering Kralian with 4 arms and scales that shifted color with his mood, slammed his drink down hard enough to make the table shake. His companions looked up from their own beverages, curious about what had sparked his obvious anger. "Command just assigned us a new squad member," he growled, his scales turning a deep red that signaled his frustration. "A human female, if you can believe that nonsense." The others exchanged glances that mixed disbelief with amusement. Vorgash, whose insectoid features clicked and chittered when he was excited, leaned forward with interest. His compound eyes reflected the dim lighting as he processed this unexpected news. A human? Vorgash's mandibles clicked rapidly. Those soft pink creatures barely survived their own planet's conflicts. What could one possibly offer to warriors like us? Thane, a cybernetically enhanced being whose metal implants covered half his face, accessed his neural database with a soft whirring sound. Information flowed across his optical display as he searched for relevant data about human military capabilities. "According to my files, humans have only been space-capable for 200 years, Thane reported, his voice carrying the flat tone of someone reading statistics. "Their longest recorded military engagement lasted 6 years. Most of our species have been fighting wars for millennia." The 5th member of their group, a massive stone-like being called Rolgeth, spoke with a voice that sounded like grinding granite. His people had conquered 3 star systems through pure strength and determination, making them legendary warriors throughout the galaxy. "Perhaps she will serve as entertainment," Rolgeth rumbled, causing the table to vibrate with each word. "We can watch her flee when the first plasma bolt comes her way." Their laughter filled the cantina, drawing annoyed looks from other patrons who were trying to enjoy their drinks in peace. The sound carried a cruel edge that made nearby aliens uncomfortable and reminded everyone why the Galactic Defense Corps had such a fearsome reputation. When their new teammate finally arrived, the laughter died in their throats, replaced by confusion and barely concealed mockery. Commander Sarah Chen stood at regulation height for a human, which made her appear almost childlike next to her new squad mates. Her simple military uniform looked plain compared to their elaborate armor and weapon systems. She moved with quiet confidence toward their table, her dark eyes taking in each of her new teammates with careful observation. There was something about the way she walked that suggested hidden depths. But the aliens were too busy judging her appearance to notice the subtle signs. "You must be my new unit," Sarah said, her voice steady and professional despite the obvious hostility radiating from the group. "I'm Commander Chen. I look forward to working with all of you." Zektar's scales rippled with colors that indicated his amusement at what he saw as a pathetic introduction. He gestured grandly toward an empty chair, though his movements carried an exaggerated courtesy that bordered on insult. "Please, Commander," he said, drawing out her title like it was some kind of joke. "Join us. We were just discussing our upcoming mission to the Outer Rim territories." Sarah took the offered seat without showing any reaction to their obvious mockery. She listened as they described their mission parameters, occasionally asking questions that showed she understood the tactical situation better than they had expected. The mission involved tracking down a group of rebel fighters who had been attacking supply convoys. In the remote sector, intelligence suggested the rebels had established a base on one of the uninhabited planets in the region, but previous attempts to locate them had failed. "The rebels are well-trained and heavily armed," Vorgash explained, his mandibles clicking with excitement at the prospect of combat. "They have been embarrassing our forces for months now." "What kind of weapons are they using?" Sarah asked, pulling out a small tablet to take notes. Thane accessed his files again, rattling off specifications for various energy weapons and defensive systems. Sarah nodded thoughtfully, asking follow-up questions about ammunition supplies and maintenance requirements that impressed the others despite their prejudices. As the evening progressed, the alien soldiers found themselves grudgingly admitting that their new human teammate seemed to know what she was talking about. However, they still doubted her ability to handle actual combat situations. "Knowledge is one thing," Rolgeth rumbled during a break in the conversation. "Battle is entirely different. When energy beams start flying and comrades fall around you, Theory becomes meaningless. Sarah met his gaze steadily, showing no sign of intimidation, despite the obvious challenge in his words. "I understand your concerns," she replied calmly. "I suppose we'll find out soon enough." The next morning, their ship departed Nexus Station bound for the Outer Rim. The journey would take several days, giving the team time to plan their approach and get to know each other better. Sarah spent most of her time in the ship's small library, studying everything she could find about their destination and the rebel forces they would face. Her teammates continued to treat her with barely concealed contempt, making jokes about human weakness when they thought she couldn't hear. They assumed she would prove to be a liability in combat, someone they would need to protect rather than rely upon. What none of them realized was that Sarah Chen had not been assigned to their unit by accident. Her personnel file, classified at levels none of them had clearance to access, told a very different story about her capabilities and experience. The Galactic Defense Corps had very specific reasons for placing her with this particular team. As their ship approached the contested sector, Sarah quietly began her own preparations for what was to come. She checked her equipment with the methodical precision of someone who had done this many times before, though her teammates remained unaware of the significance of her actions. The hunt was about to begin, and the hunters had no idea they were about to become the hunted. The rebel stronghold sat nestled in a valley between two mountain ranges on the barren planet, designated as Kepler 442c. From their ship's sensors, the structure appeared to be a converted mining facility, complete with underground tunnels and defensive positions that made it nearly impregnable. Zektar studied the tactical display while his scales shifted through various shades of orange, indicating his growing excitement for the upcoming battle. The Kralian warrior had been looking forward to this mission since they left Nexus Station, eager to prove his worth against worthy opponents. "Standard assault formation should work perfectly," he announced confidently, his forearms gesturing toward different points on the holographic map. "We strike from the north while Vorgash provides covering fire from the eastern ridge." Vorgash clicked his mandibles in agreement, his compound eyes reflecting the blue light from the tactical display. The insectoid warrior had already calculated firing angles and ammunition, requirements for what he assumed would be a straightforward engagement. "My weapon systems can suppress their defensive positions," he chittered excitedly. "Once we eliminate their heavy guns, the rest should surrender quickly." Thane processed the battle plan through his cybernetic implants, running probability calculations that appeared as streams of data across his optical interface. His mechanical components whirred softly as he analyzed potential outcomes for their proposed strategy. "Success probability stands at 73%, Thane reported in his monotone voice. "Acceptable odds for this type of operation." Rolgeth rumbled his approval, the sound echoing through the ship's cramped briefing room like distant thunder. The massive stone-like being had fought in dozens of similar battles, and this one seemed no different from any other rebel stronghold he had helped capture. "We move at dawn," he declared with the authority of someone accustomed to command. "Quick strike, overwhelming force. Minimum casualties on our side." Throughout this planning session, Sarah had remained silent, studying the tactical data with an intensity that none of her teammates bothered to notice. Her dark eyes moved across the display, taking in details that the others had overlooked in their eagerness to begin the assault. "What about the thermal signatures?" she finally asked, pointing to several anomalous readings on the sensor display. Zektar glanced dismissively at the readings she had highlighted, his scales rippling with colors that indicated his impatience with what he saw as unnecessary delays. "Background radiation from the old mining equipment," he said with obvious irritation. "Nothing that affects our battle plan." "Those readings are moving," Sarah pointed out quietly. "Mining equipment doesn't patrol perimeters." Vorgash's mandibles clicked in annoyance as he pulled up additional sensor data to verify her observation. When the information confirmed her assessment, his enthusiasm dimmed slightly as he realized their intelligence might be incomplete. "Perhaps there are more rebels than we initially estimated," he admitted reluctantly. "Still nothing we cannot handle with superior firepower." Sarah continued studying the data while her teammates dismissed her concerns and returned to their original plan. Something about the thermal patterns bothered her, but she couldn't quite identify what was setting off her instincts. When morning arrived, the 5-member team deployed according to Zektar's strategy. The alien soldiers moved with confidence born of countless successful missions, their advanced weapons and armor making them feel invincible against what they assumed were poorly equipped rebels. The attack began exactly as planned. Forgash opened fire from his elevated position, his energy weapons creating brilliant streaks of light as they struck the facility's defensive barriers. The rebels responded quickly, returning fire with weapons that seemed surprisingly sophisticated for a ragtag group of insurgents. Zektar led the frontal assault with characteristic boldness, his forearms allowing him to wield multiple weapons simultaneously. Behind him, Thane and Rolgeth advanced with mechanical precision, their combined firepower overwhelming the rebel positions one by one. For the first hour, everything proceeded according to their expectations. The rebels fought fiercely but seemed unable to mount an effective defense against the coordinated assault. Several defensive positions fell quickly under the overwhelming firepower of the Galactic Defense Corps team. Sarah had been assigned to provide rear security, a role that her teammates considered appropriate for someone they viewed as the weak link in their formation. She maintained radio contact while monitoring their flanks for any signs of enemy movement. That was when everything started going wrong. The thermal signatures Sarah had noticed began moving with purpose, revealing themselves to be something far more dangerous than additional rebel fighters. From concealed positions throughout the valley, sophisticated combat drones emerged and immediately began targeting the attacking force. "We have enemy drones converging on our position," Sarah reported over the communication channel, her voice remaining calm despite the deteriorating situation. "Impossible," Zektar replied between bursts of weapons fire. Intelligence indicated no advanced technology. More drones appeared, their movements coordinated in ways that suggested artificial intelligence far beyond what typical rebel groups could afford. These weren't simple combat units, but sophisticated hunter-killer machines designed specifically for anti-personnel operations. Forgash found himself under heavy fire from multiple directions as the drones used advanced tactics to outflank his position. His return fire destroyed several units, but more kept appearing to replace them. "I need immediate support," he transmitted, his usual confidence replaced by growing concern as his ammunition supplies began running low. Thane's cybernetic systems were having difficulty tracking the fast-moving targets as they used terrain features to break lock-on attempts. His tactical programs had not been designed to handle enemies with such sophisticated evasion capabilities. "These are military-grade combat drones," he reported with obvious surprise. "Rebel groups should not have access to this level of technology." The situation deteriorated rapidly as the team found themselves surrounded by enemies they had never expected to face. Their superior individual capabilities meant nothing against overwhelming numbers of coordinated mechanical opponents. Rolgeth's massive form made him an easy target for the drone swarms, and even his considerable durability had limits when faced with concentrated energy fire from multiple directions simultaneously. "Fall back to secondary positions," he commanded, his voice strained as he absorbed hits that would have killed lesser beings. But retreat proved impossible as more drones emerged from underground tunnels, cutting off their escape routes with precisely coordinated movements. The rebels had turned the entire valley into a sophisticated trap designed to capture or eliminate any attacking force. Sarah watched the tactical situation unfold from her position while her teammates struggled against impossible odds. Her training and experience told her exactly what was happening, even if the others hadn't figured it out yet. The rebels hadn't been hitting supply convoys at random. They had been deliberately drawing attention to this location, setting up the perfect ambush for whoever came to investigate. Her teammates had walked directly into a carefully prepared killing ground. Now she had to decide whether to abandon them to their fate or risk everything to save the same beings, who had spent days mocking her capabilities and questioning her worth as a warrior. Sarah's decision came without hesitation, despite how her teammates had treated her. Professional duty meant more to her than personal pride, and she couldn't stand by while fellow soldiers died, regardless of their opinions about human capabilities. She activated her personal combat system, a piece of equipment her teammates had barely noticed during their mission preparations. To them, it had looked like standard human military gear, unremarkable compared to their own advanced technology. None of them realized they were looking at experimental prototype equipment that didn't officially exist. The first sign something had changed came when 3 drones approaching Vorgash's position simply stopped functioning. Their systems went dark simultaneously, as if someone had reached inside their programming and turned them off. The insectoid warrior looked around in confusion, unsure what had saved him. "My position is clear," he reported over the communication channel, his mandibles clicking with nervous energy. "Unknown cause of drone shutdown." Similar incidents began, occurring throughout the battlefield as Sarah moved through the valley, with movements that seemed impossible for someone her size. She flowed between cover points like water, never staying in one place long enough for the remaining drones to establish target locks. Zektar found himself with breathing room as the drones attacking his position began behaving erratically. Some turned on each other while others simply powered down in the middle of combat operations. His scales shifted through confused patterns as he tried to understand what was happening. "This is not random malfunction," he transmitted, his warrior instincts telling him that someone was actively interfering with enemy systems. Someone is conducting electronic warfare. Thane's cybernetic implants detected unauthorized signals flooding the battlefield communication networks. His analysis programs worked frantically to identify the source, while his optical displays showed cascading system failures among enemy units. "Detecting sophisticated cyber attacks against drone control systems," he reported with mechanical precision. "Source unknown, but definitely friendly." The tactical situation reversed itself with startling speed as more drones fell victim to whatever force was systematically dismantling their coordination networks. What had been a desperate fight for survival became a manageable engagement, as enemy numbers dwindled rapidly. Sarah's specialized training finally revealed itself, as she demonstrated capabilities that went far beyond standard infantry operations. Her movements showed the fluid precision of someone trained in advanced infiltration techniques, while her equipment performed functions that seemed almost magical to outside observers. She had been trained by Earth's most elite special operations units, groups so classified that most government officials didn't know they existed. Her selection for this mission had been based on psychological profiles, indicating she could handle the stress of working with alien species who viewed humans as inferior. The experimental combat suit she wore contained technology that Earth's military had developed specifically for operations against advanced alien opponents. Cyber warfare capabilities, enhanced physical performance, and stealth systems that could fool sensors designed by species thousands of years more advanced than humanity. But perhaps most importantly, Sarah possessed something her alien teammates lacked: the ability to think like prey while fighting like a predator. Human evolution had shaped her species to survive as relatively weak beings in a world full of creatures that could easily kill them. This evolutionary pressure had created minds capable of finding weaknesses that stronger species never learned to exploit. As the last of the combat drones fell silent, Sarah's teammates began emerging from their defensive positions. They looked around the battlefield with expressions ranging from confusion to suspicious relief, unable to understand how their desperate situation had suddenly resolved itself. "Situation report," Rolgeth demanded, his massive form showing scorch marks from the energy weapons that had been targeting him moments before. "All hostile drones neutralized," Sarah replied over the communication channel, her voice carrying the same calm professionalism she had maintained throughout the crisis, advancing to secure primary objective. The rebel facility itself had been abandoned during the fighting, its occupants having fled through underground tunnels that led deeper into the mountain range. Sarah's equipment detected their heat signatures, moving away through the tunnel network, but pursuit would be dangerous without proper preparation. Her teammates gathered around the facility entrance, still trying to process what had just happened. Their instruments showed clear evidence of sophisticated electronic warfare, but none of them could identify the source or methods used. "Cyber attacks came from somewhere on this battlefield," Thane reported, his optical displays still processing data streams. "But I cannot isolate the origin point." Vorgash's compound eyes swept across the valley, searching for any sign of additional forces that might have provided support. His tactical programming insisted that such a coordinated cyber assault required significant computing power and specialized equipment. "Perhaps orbital support?" he suggested, though his instruments showed no evidence of ships in the system other than their own. Sektar's scales had settled into colors indicating deep thought as he reviewed the engagement from beginning to end. Something about the pattern of drone failures struck him as familiar, though he couldn't quite identify why. The attacks were too precise, he said slowly, his warrior's intuition picking up on details his conscious mind couldn't quite grasp. Someone with intimate knowledge of those drone systems conducted this operation. Sarah listened to their speculation while conducting her own examination of the abandoned facility. The rebels had left behind equipment that confirmed her suspicions about their true nature and capabilities. These weren't simple insurgents fighting against Galactic authority. The technology she found indicated connection to organized crime syndicates, or even rogue military units with access to advanced equipment. The combat drones had been just the beginning of their defensive capabilities. More importantly, the facility's communication equipment showed recent contact with other rebel cells throughout the sector. This was part of a larger operation, possibly coordinated at levels that extended far beyond local criminal activity. "We need to report this to command immediately," she announced, uploading data files to their ship's communication systems. "This is bigger than our original mission parameters indicated." Her teammates continued discussing the mysterious cyber warfare support while Sarah methodically documented everything she found in the facility. None of them suspected that their quiet human colleague possessed the skills and equipment necessary to single-handedly defeat an entire drone army. The return journey to Nexus Station passed in relative quiet, as each team member processed their experience in different ways. Sarah spent her time analyzing the intelligence they had gathered, already beginning to piece together the larger picture of what they had stumbled into. What troubled her most was the sophistication of the trap they had encountered. Someone had invested considerable resources in setting up that ambush, which suggested their investigation had struck closer to something important than anyone had realized. The rebels were still out there, deeper in the mountain tunnels, and Sarah suspected they would encounter them again before this mission was complete. The briefing room on Nexus Station felt different when they returned. Command had reviewed their mission reports with obvious concern, and additional intelligence officers were now present for their debriefing session. Sarah noticed the increased security protocols immediately, though her teammates seemed focused on recounting their battle experiences. Admiral Kethvar, a distinguished Altarian with silver-blue skin and piercing violet eyes, led the debriefing personally. His presence indicated that their discovery had attracted attention. At the highest levels of Galactic Defense Corps, "Command, your encounter with advanced combat drones confirms our worst suspicions," the Admiral began, his melodic voice carrying undertones of serious concern. "These rebels have access to military-grade equipment that should be impossible for civilian insurgents to obtain." Sektar's scales rippled with colors indicating pride as he described their successful mission. Though he glossed over the desperate moments when they had been trapped and outgunned, his account focused on their eventual victory, while downplaying how close they had come to total defeat. "The enemy showed sophisticated tactics," he reported confidently. "But superior training and firepower prevailed in the end." Vorgash added his own observations about the drone capabilities, his mandibles clicking as he recalled the precision of their coordinated attacks. However, like his Kralian teammate, he seemed reluctant to admit how thoroughly they had been outmaneuvered initially. "Their electronic warfare capabilities exceeded intelligence estimates," he acknowledged. "Fortunately, we received unexpected support that neutralized their technological advantage." Admiral Kethvar's violet eyes focused intently on this detail, recognizing its significance even if the team members didn't fully understand what had saved them. "Describe this support," he requested, his tone suggesting this information was particularly important. Thane accessed his combat recordings, displaying holographic replays of the drone malfunctions that had turned the tide of battle. The data showed clear evidence of sophisticated cyber attacks, but the source remained mysteriously unidentifiable. "Someone conducted systematic electronic warfare against enemy drone networks," Thane reported with mechanical precision. "However, my systems could not determine the origin point or methodology employed." The Admiral's expression grew more thoughtful as he reviewed the technical data. His staff officers exchanged meaningful glances that suggested they recognized something the team members had missed entirely. And what was Commander Chen's role during this engagement? Admiral Kethavar asked, his violet eyes shifting to focus on Sarah directly. Sarah had been sitting quietly throughout the debriefing, allowing her teammates to present their version of events without correction. Now she felt the weight of command attention settling on her shoulders. I provided rear security and communication support, she replied simply, maintaining the same professional demeanor she had displayed throughout the mission. Rolgeth rumbled his agreement, though his massive stone-like features showed traces of confusion about certain aspects of their experience. The human performed adequately, he acknowledged grudgingly, though she saw little actual combat due to her support role assignment. Admiral Kethavar nodded thoughtfully while studying additional data that had appeared on his personal display. Sarah noticed him reviewing information that none of her teammates could access, files that carried classification levels beyond their clearance. Intelligence indicates the rebels have established multiple bases throughout the Outer Rim, the Admiral continued, shifting focus back to the larger tactical situation. Your engagement represents only the beginning of what appears to be a coordinated insurgency. New holographic displays showed star charts marking dozens of systems where rebel activity had been reported. The pattern suggested organization and resources far beyond what typical criminal groups could muster. We're assigning your team to continue investigating these rebel operations, Admiral Kethavar announced. However, given the increased threat level, you'll be receiving additional support personnel. Zektar's scales brightened with anticipation at the prospect of more challenging missions. Combat was what he lived for, and the promise of fighting better-equipped enemies appealed to his warrior nature. What kind of support? He asked eagerly. Specialized personnel trained in counterinsurgency operations, the Admiral replied diplomatically. Individuals with experience fighting unconventional enemies using advanced technology. Sarah recognized the careful phrasing that indicated black operations personnel were being assigned to their unit. These would be soldiers trained for missions that officially didn't exist, operating with equipment and authorities that normal military units couldn't access. After the formal debriefing concluded, Admiral Kethavar requested a private meeting with Sarah. Her teammates assumed this was routine administrative procedure, unaware that classified discussions were about to take place. Your performance exceeded expectations, the Admiral said once they were alone in his secure office. The cyber warfare capabilities you deployed were particularly impressive. Sarah maintained her professional composure despite knowing her cover had been partially compromised. I'm not sure what you're referring to, sir. Admiral Kethavar smiled, an expression that transformed his normally stern features. Commander Chen, your actual service record makes for fascinating reading. 3 tours with Earth's Deep Operations Division, specializing in technological infiltration and electronic warfare. The truth was finally emerging. Sarah's assignment to this team had been carefully orchestrated from the beginning, placing her in position to gather intelligence about rebel capabilities while maintaining her cover as a standard infantry officer. Your teammates remain unaware of your true qualifications, the Admiral continued. This arrangement serves our purposes perfectly, as it allows you to operate without drawing attention to Earth's more advanced military capabilities. Sarah understood the political implications immediately. If other species learned about humanity's rapid advancement in certain military technologies, it could shift the balance of power throughout the galaxy in unpredictable ways. What are my actual mission parameters? She asked directly. Continue gathering intelligence about rebel operations while maintaining your cover identity, Admiral Kethavar instructed. But more importantly, prepare for the possibility that these insurgents represent something far more dangerous than we initially suspected. He activated a secure display showing classified intelligence reports that painted a disturbing picture. The rebel groups weren't random criminals, but part of a coordinated effort to destabilize the Galactic Defense Corps from within. Believe someone is providing them with inside information about our operations, the Admiral explained grimly. The precision of their ambush suggests they knew exactly when and how your team would attack. Sarah studied the intelligence data while processing the implications. If the rebels had infiltrated Galactic Defense Corps communication networks, then no mission could be considered secure. They're testing our capabilities, she realized, learning our tactics and technological limitations. Precisely, Admiral Kethavar confirmed. Which means your team will continue to be targeted by increasingly sophisticated operations designed to probe our defenses. The game had become far more complex than any of them had initially understood. Sarah's teammates thought they were hunting simple rebels, but the truth was that they had become the primary targets in a much larger and more dangerous conflict. The next mission came sooner than expected. Intelligence had located another rebel stronghold on a moon orbiting a gas giant in the Terminus system, and Sarah's team was assigned to investigate before the trail went cold. This time, however, they wouldn't be going alone. Captain HFY, a veteran Saurian operative with cybernetic enhancements that covered most of his reptilian head, joined their team as mission commander. His cold yellow eyes and scarred hide spoke of countless black operations that official records would never acknowledge. "This operation requires different tactics," Captain HFY announced during their mission briefing. "Intelligence suggests the rebels have learned from our previous encounter and adapted their defenses accordingly." Lieutenant Kordesh, a slender ethereal whose translucent skin revealed the energy patterns flowing through her nervous system, would provide advanced sensor support. Her species possessed natural abilities that made them ideal for detecting hidden technology and concealed enemies. The third addition to their team was Sergeant Mokhtar, a heavily augmented Ursoid whose bear-like appearance concealed sophisticated combat modifications. His massive frame housed enough weaponry to level small buildings, making him their designated heavy assault specialist. Sarah's teammates seemed relieved to have reinforcements, especially after their previous close call with the combat drones. They assumed the additional personnel were assigned because Command had finally recognized the increased threat level they were facing. "Now we have proper support," Sektar said confidently, his scales showing colors of anticipation as he examined the new team members' equipment. "These rebels won't catch us unprepared again." Vorgash clicked his mandibles in agreement while studying Lieutenant Kordesh's sensor arrays. The advanced detection equipment she carried far exceeded anything their original team had possessed. "With these capabilities, we should be able to identify enemy positions long before they can establish ambush scenarios," he observed with scientific interest. Thane interfaced directly with the new team's tactical networks, his cybernetic implants synchronizing with their enhanced communication systems. The data flow impressed him with its sophistication and encryption protocols. "These systems represent significant advancement over standard military equipment," he reported with obvious approval. "Success probability has increased substantially." Rolgeth rumbled his satisfaction at having Sergeant Mokhtar's heavy weapons support available. The massive Ursoid's arsenal included experimental energy cannons that could penetrate fortified positions with ease. "Finally, adequate firepower for dealing with entrenched enemies," he declared with granite-voiced authority. Sarah observed the team dynamics carefully while maintaining her cover as a support personnel officer. The new arrivals were clearly special operations soldiers, though her teammates didn't seem to recognize the significance of their particular specializations. Captain HFY's cybernetic enhancements included quantum encryption processors that suggested experience with deep intelligence operations. Lieutenant Kordesh's sensor equipment showed modifications for detecting stealth technology and concealed facilities. Sergeant Mokhtar's weapons systems were designed specifically for anti-facility operations against hardened targets. This wasn't a simple reinforcement. Command was sending a specialized team designed to handle whatever they might encounter in the rebel stronghold, with capabilities that went far beyond standard military operations. The journey to the Terminus system took 3 days, during which the expanded team conducted intensive planning sessions and equipment checks. Sarah noticed that the new arrival showed professional respect for her tactical observations, unlike her original teammates who still treated her opinions as barely worth considering. Commander Chen raises valid concerns about the facility's power distribution, Captain HFY noted during one planning session. Those patterns suggest concealed defensive systems. Lieutenant Kordesh's energy-sensitive vision allowed her to detect anomalies that traditional sensors missed, and she found Sarah's analysis of the intelligence data particularly insightful. "The human demonstrates understanding of advanced facility design," she observed, her translucent features showing patterns of approval. Her tactical assessments warrant serious consideration. Even Sergeant Mokhtar, whose species typically valued physical strength above intellectual capabilities, seemed impressed by Sarah's methodical approach to mission planning. "Small human thinks like engineer," he rumbled approvingly. Good for finding weak points in enemy defenses. The rebel facility on the moon presented a more sophisticated challenge than their previous target. Built inside a network of natural caves, it showed clear signs of professional military engineering, with multiple redundant defensive systems and carefully planned escape routes. This is not the work of amateur insurgents, Captain Vexhai observed as they studied the facility from their concealed observation post. Someone with extensive military experience designed these fortifications. Lieutenant Kordesh's sensors detected energy signatures that indicated the presence of shield generators and automated defense turrets concealed throughout the cave system. Her readings also showed something else that made her translucent skin pulse with concern. I am detecting biological signatures that do not match known rebel personnel profiles, she reported quietly. The energy patterns suggest augmented beings, possibly combat modified. Sarah felt a chill of recognition as she processed this information. Combat modified beings were expensive to create and maintain, representing resources that criminal organizations rarely possessed. Someone with significant backing was supporting these rebels. Sergeant Mokhtar prepared his heavy weapon systems while studying the facility's defensive positions. His tactical programming calculated firepower requirements for various assault scenarios, though the results concerned him. These defenses require precision strikes rather than overwhelming force, he admitted reluctantly. Crude assault would result in heavy casualties. The mission parameters had changed once again. Instead of investigating a simple rebel hideout, they were preparing to assault a facility that showed signs of military-grade planning and resources that suggested backing from organized crime syndicates or even rogue government factions. As they finalized their assault plan, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into another trap. The rebels had demonstrated their ability to anticipate Galactic Defense Corps tactics, and this facility seemed almost too well defended for its supposed purpose. Her instincts told her that the real enemy wasn't hiding in the caves below, but was somehow watching their every move from a distance, gathering information about their capabilities and weaknesses for use in future encounters. The hunt was about to become much more dangerous, and Sarah suspected that her teammates still had no idea what they were really up against. The assault began at dawn with precision that reflected their enhanced planning capabilities. Lieutenant Kordesh had mapped every energy signature within the cave system, allowing the team to move through areas of minimum resistance while avoiding the heaviest defensive concentrations, Captain. Vexhai led the primary assault team through the main entrance while Sergeant Mokhtar positioned himself to provide heavy fire support from an elevated position overlooking the facility. The plan seemed to unfold perfectly as they encountered lighter resistance than expected. Sarah accompanied the support element, monitoring communications and maintaining tactical awareness of the overall situation. Her equipment detected anomalies in the rebel response patterns that troubled her professional instincts. Something feels wrong, she transmitted to Captain Vexhai through their secure channel. The defenders are falling back too easily. Acknowledged, the Saurian operative replied tersely. Maintain alert status. Zektar pushed forward aggressively with his characteristic boldness, his forearms allowing him to engage multiple targets simultaneously. His scales showed the bright colors of combat excitement as he cleared defensive positions with methodical efficiency. Resistance is lighter than expected, he reported with satisfaction. These rebels learned nothing from our previous encounter. Vorgash provided covering fire from carefully selected positions, his weapons systems tracking multiple targets through the complex cave system. His compound eyes gave him advantages in the low-light environment that the rebels seemed unprepared to counter. Enemy coordination appears degraded, he observed with scientific interest. Perhaps our reputation precedes us. Thane's cybernetic systems interfaced directly with the facility's automated systems, attempting to gather intelligence about rebel capabilities and organization. What he found in their computer network surprised him with its sophistication. These systems show evidence of professional military programming, he reported with mechanical precision, not consistent with criminal organization capabilities. Rolgeth advanced through the facility's lower levels with unstoppable determination, his massive form absorbing defensive fire while steadily eliminating resistance points. However, even his considerable experience couldn't shake the feeling that Something was fundamentally wrong with this engagement. Tactical. Situation does not match intelligence estimates. He rumbled over the communication channel. Recommend increased caution. Lieutenant Kordesh's energy-sensitive abilities detected massive power buildups deeper within the cave system, signatures that suggested the presence of equipment far beyond anything rebels should possess. Warning, she transmitted urgently, detecting energy patterns consistent with military-grade weapons charging cycles. The trap revealed itself with devastating suddenness. Concealed weapon emplacements throughout the cave system activated simultaneously, creating crossfire patterns that turned the facility into a lethal maze. These weren't improvised rebel defenses but professionally designed killing fields. Captain Vexhai found his team, pinned down by coordinated fire from positions that shouldn't have existed. According to their intelligence reports, his cybernetic enhancements worked frantically to identify escape routes, while defensive systems targeted his every movement. All units, fall back to secondary positions, he commanded, his cold professionalism maintaining order despite their deteriorating situation. This is a coordinated ambush. Sergeant Mokhtar's heavy weapons proved insufficient against the sheer volume of defensive fire converging on their positions. His arsenal, designed for assault operations, couldn't effectively counter the sophisticated defensive network they now faced. Cannot maintain fire superiority, he reported grimly. Enemy positions are too well coordinated. The team found themselves trapped in the same type of carefully prepared ambush they had encountered before, but this time the stakes were higher. The rebels had learned from their previous encounter and adapted their tactics to counter the team's demonstrated capabilities. Sarah monitored the tactical situation while her mind raced through possible solutions. Her teammates were facing systematic elimination by an enemy that had anticipated their every tactical option. The rebels weren't just fighting back. They were conducting a carefully orchestrated operation designed to capture or eliminate the entire team. Her specialized equipment detected communication signals between the defensive positions that revealed the true scope of their predicament. The rebels were coordinating their attacks through quantum-encrypted networks that suggested backing from sources with access to cutting-edge military technology. More importantly, the timing of this ambush indicated that someone had provided the rebels with detailed information about their mission parameters and tactical capabilities. The precision of the trap suggested inside knowledge of Galactic Defense Corps' operations. The moment of decision had arrived. Sarah could maintain her cover and hope her teammates found their own way out of the trap, or she could reveal her true capabilities and risk exposing Earth's most advanced military technologies to alien observation. As energy beams began finding their targets and her teammates, situation became increasingly desperate. Sarah made her choice. Professional duty and personal loyalty outweighed operational security concerns. She activated her full combat system for the first time since joining the team, engaging capabilities that transformed her from a support officer into something far more dangerous. Her equipment began systematically identifying and targeting the rebel communication networks that coordinated their defensive systems. All units, prepare for coordinated counter-assault, she transmitted with authority that surprised her teammates. Enemy coordination about to be compromised. The first indication something had changed came when rebel defensive positions began experiencing cascading system failures. Weapons that had been targeting her teammates with deadly precision suddenly lost their ability to coordinate attacks effectively. Sarah moved through the cave system with fluid precision that seemed impossible for someone her size, her enhanced equipment allowing her to navigate obstacles that would have stopped conventional soldiers. She flowed between defensive positions like a ghost, eliminating threats with efficiency that left her teammates staring in amazement. Within minutes, the tactical situation reversed itself completely. The carefully coordinated ambush dissolved into chaos as communication networks failed and defensive systems turned against each other. What had been a death trap became a manageable combat situation. Her teammates watched in stunned silence as their supposedly weak human colleagues single-handedly dismantled an enemy force that had been systematically destroying them moments before. The quiet support officer had revealed herself to be something none of them had imagined possible. The hunt had taken an unexpected turn, and the hunters were about to discover they had been traveling with a predator far more dangerous than any of them had suspected. The silence that followed the battle was deafening. Sarah's teammates stood among the disabled rebel equipment, their expressions ranging from confusion to dawning comprehension as they processed what they had just witnessed. Zektar's scales had gone completely pale, a color pattern that indicated shock so profound his emotional control systems couldn't process it. His forearms hung loosely at his sides as he stared at the human female who had just demonstrated capabilities that defied everything he thought he knew about her species. "You did all of this?" he asked slowly, his voice lacking its usual confident arrogance. Sarah checked her equipment while maintaining the same professional demeanor she had displayed throughout their missions together. Her combat systems powered down to standby mode, returning her appearance to that of a standard infantry officer. "Mission parameters required adaptation," she replied simply, though her calm tone couldn't entirely mask the significance of what had just occurred. Vorgash's compound eyes tracked across the destroyed defensive positions, his analytical mind struggling to reconcile the evidence with his preconceptions about human military capabilities. The electronic warfare systems, the tactical movement, the precision targeting. He chittered nervously. "These capabilities exceed our intelligence estimates by several orders of magnitude." Thane's cybernetic implants worked frantically to analyze the combat data, but his programs couldn't explain how one individual had accomplished what should have required an entire specialized unit. "My tactical databases contain no reference to human soldiers with these capabilities," he reported with mechanical confusion. "The technology demonstrated appears to be several generations beyond known Earth military development." Rolgath rumbled thoughtfully as he studied the aftermath of Sarah's intervention. His warrior instincts told him he had just witnessed something extraordinary, though his understanding of tactics couldn't explain the methods she had employed. "You fought like no human in our military databases," he observed with grudging respect. "What are you really?" Captain Vexhai approached Sarah with the careful movements of someone who had suddenly realized they were dealing with a completely different type of operative. His cybernetic enhancements had recorded everything, and the data painted a picture that challenged fundamental assumptions about Earth's military capabilities. "Commander Chen," he said formally, "I believe we need to discuss your actual qualifications and mission parameters." Lieutenant Kordesh's energy-sensitive abilities allowed her to detect the residual signatures from Sarah's equipment, revealing technology that surpassed anything in current Galactic Defense Corps inventories. "The energy patterns from her combat systems," she whispered in amazement. "They show technological advancement that should not exist yet." Sergeant Mokhtar examined the weapons effects that had eliminated the rebel positions, his heavy weapons expertise allowing him to appreciate the precision and efficiency of what had been accomplished. "Small human fights with weapons I do not recognize," he rumbled with newfound respect. "This is warrior skill beyond standard training." Sarah realized that maintaining her cover was no longer possible or necessary. The mission had evolved beyond its original parameters, and the truth about human military advancement would soon become apparent regardless of her preferences. Earth's military development has progressed more rapidly than most galactic intelligence services realize, she explained carefully. Certain specialized units possess capabilities that remain classified for obvious reasons. The implications of this revelation struck her teammates with varying degrees of comprehension. Zektar's scales began shifting through patterns that indicated he was recalculating everything he thought he knew about human capabilities and their place in galactic military hierarchies. "If humans possess technology this advanced," he said slowly, "then our understanding of your species' military potential requires fundamental revision." Vorgash clicked his mandibles as he processed the strategic implications of advanced human military technology. His scientific mind immediately began calculating how this might affect the balance of power throughout the galaxy. "Your species has been deliberately concealing your true capabilities," he observed with growing excitement. "This changes the entire tactical landscape of galactic military operations." Captain Vexhai accessed secure communication channels to report their discoveries to command, though he suspected that higher levels of authority were already aware of Earth's hidden capabilities. "Command will want detailed debriefings about everything we've observed," he announced. "This mission has uncovered information with implications far beyond our original objectives," Sarah nodded understanding, while beginning to secure sensitive equipment that she couldn't allow to fall into unauthorized hands. Her cover had been blown, but operational security still required protecting certain technological secrets. As they prepared to extract from the rebel facility, Sarah's teammates continued asking questions about human military capabilities that she couldn't answer without revealing classified information. However, their attitudes toward her had undergone a complete transformation. The mockery and condescension had been replaced by professional respect and cautious curiosity. They now understood that they had been traveling with someone whose true qualifications far exceeded their own, despite their initial assumptions about human weakness. "I owe you an apology," Zektar said quietly, his scales showing colors of genuine remorse. "My behavior was unworthy of a professional soldier." Forgash's mandibles clicked in agreement as he recalled his dismissive comments about human military capabilities. "We judged based on incomplete information," he acknowledged. "Your performance has demonstrated that our preconceptions were gravely mistaken." Thane's mechanical voice carried uncharacteristic emotion as he processed the implications of working alongside such an advanced operative. "I have learned valuable lessons about making assumptions based on limited data," he stated with obvious sincerity. Wow, Geth's massive form conveyed respect through posture and tone as he addressed Sarah directly. "You are warrior worthy of honor," he declared formally. "Your actions have earned recognition among all who fight." As their ship departed the terminus system, Sarah reflected on how the mission had fundamentally changed her relationship with her teammates. The laughter and mockery were gone, replaced by professional respect and genuine curiosity about human capabilities. More importantly, the rebels' sophisticated operations had revealed the existence of a larger threat that would require all their combined skills to address. The hunt was far from over, but now they would be hunting as a unified team rather than a group of individuals who barely tolerated each other. The Galactic soldiers who had once laughed at a human woman had learned a lesson that would reshape their understanding of humanity's place in the wider galaxy, and Sarah Chen had proven that sometimes the most dangerous hunters are those who appear to be harmless prey.